Really? Such a stereotype. All right, Chief. See you later. Fun.
All right. We got everyone up there?
I didn't know what you were going to do.
We have all that we're going to have. All right, let's get underway today.
Go Cubbies.
We're going to call to order this meeting of the Board of Directors of the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District for Thursday, October 27, 2016. I want to welcome Todd Harms, Deputy Chief, and would ask that you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The Metro Cable announcement, the open session meeting is videotaped for cablecast on Metro Cable 14. The replay will be on Saturday, October 29, 2016 at 12 noon and Monday, October 31st, 2016 at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. Meetings webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. The open session meetings are also available for viewing on the district's website at www.metrofire.ca.gov. Next, we'll have an opportunity for members of the public to comment on items on or not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
There are no speakers this evening.
Wonderful. We'll move on to consent then. Do we have any questions or comments about the consent agenda?
Mr.
Make a
Chairman.
motion we adopt.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Would you call the roll, please?
Dr. Mitchell.
Aye.
Gould.
Aye.
Orzali.
Aye.
Barnes.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
And Wood.
Aye.
Motion passes.
We'll move on to presentation items. The Pink Cancer Awareness Engine is going to be brought to us by Captain Item.
Good evening, Directors, Chief Wells, Chief Harms, Michelle Item, Captain Public Information Officer here at Metro. You may have noticed as you walked in that there's this pretty cool, amazing pink engine sitting out in the parking lot. I know the majority of you guys have seen that before. Thought you might wonder why we do this each year. So aside from, we want to take some pictures, and that's why it's physically here tonight, we want to talk to you about cancer and the effect on our community and the effect on our home community right here at Metro Fire. So to start with, the American Cancer Society estimates that 1.7 million Americans will be diagnosed with a new case of cancer this year. In addition, 600,000 Americans will lose their life to cancer this year. And to put that in perspective, that's about 1,600 people here in our country that are going to die from cancer this year. So cancer obviously affects our community. We're a part of that community. It affects us. What we've seen here at home is that firefighters are not exempt from this. The Firefighter Cancer Support Network states that cancer is the most dangerous and unrecognized threat to the health and safety of our nation's firefighters. In 2008, occupational cancer took the life of Captain Jim Peterson. A year later, Captain Michael George lost his life to cancer. Both of those men, their names are on the California Firefighters Line of Duty Death Memorial Wall. So in addition to that, since 2001, here at Metro, we've had 21 accepted cancer claims, and there's more people that are struggling right now battling their own cancer here at Metro, and those numbers continue to rise. So we see it here. Firefighters are known to have a higher rate than the general population, not just risk, rate than the general population of cancer. Testicular cancer, firefighters have twice the rate of as compared to the normal population. Some of the other cancers have up to 50% higher rate. So it's significant here at home and again in our community. So one thing I'd like to talk to you about is the Pink Engine rotates through the district. Our whole goal is to bring awareness. It's all cancers, all people. It's rotating through the district so that all of the 730,000 people or 728,000 people that we serve can see this engine. We get a lot of honks, a lot of waves, a lot of smiles. It's a great outreach. At the same time, this year we had a unique opportunity, actually we'll say an amazing opportunity, to join with the Sacramento Kings. They asked us to be part of an event that they did. The actually, I won't even tell you about it. Let me show you a video about it. I will tell you this video, the Kings made this video. They aired it at their preseason, their first game ever in the Golden One Arena. 16,000 people were there watching it. In addition, they asked us to bring the engine down, parked on the front, at the front plaza right at the main entrance. Got to interact with just thousands of people that were so excited to see this engine. So again, they aired this. It's the Kings that made it, so it's mostly about the Kings, but it'll show you a little bit about what we did this day. Of course, it's super quiet.
It's very nice.
I think you guys will like it a lot.
Women who have overcome incredible odds are still battling, and yet...
It'd be even better if you could hear, but you can see the engine. There it is.
They're doing a very good job.
Let's start it over.
As you guys were saying, maintenance so we partnered to deliver flowers.
Okay, round two here.
It's been an amazing and inspiring day.
Amazing.
We had a chance to go around the greater Sacramento region and honor some breast health survivors. These women who have overcome incredible odds are still battling and yet are just amazing and courageous and have a ton of strength.
Today we partnered with the Sacramento Kings to provide a little uplift, as you guys were saying, maintenance for people. So we partnered to deliver flowers and some Kings memorabilia and an invite to the next Kings game to some cancer survivors. And it's just kind of our way of giving back.
Away from home. Every day is important. And we get busy and we start doing all our things and our normal stuff, and then all of a sudden
Thank you. I know you're fighting. We are behind you.
Thank you.
Fight,
Thank you. Well, I appreciate I'll be aware of raising awareness and you guys being out and teaching women to take care of themselves. And
that's right.
Yeah.
It's important to us. This is the fourth year that we'll have had Pink in the Paint game, so it'll be on Monday. We want you guys, your whole family, to join us at the game on Monday. Inspiration to all of us this morning. We hooked them up with free stuff. We met their families. We invited them to the game on Monday, Pink in the Paint, and a chance to just cherish them and where they are in their lives and what they're going through and brighten their day a little bit. It's been an amazing morning, and now we're at Arden Fair Mall and meeting just some people who are coming by here. Again, getting more awareness out in the community about ensuring people are getting tested. Early detection, we know, is the key. Fantastic day with Metro Fire, King's Dancers, and our greater Sacramento community.
Scott Doak.
Scott Moak. So I really like him because he uses amazing more than I do. But what you couldn't see from the interaction with the women that we visited is that how powerful and touched they were. It was the most amazing experience. The crews from 53 B and C shift were phenomenal at the game and at this event. So great event, but just powerful and touching. So that is why we do the Pink Engine every year. Again, like the previous 2 years, it was 100%, the cost was 100% donated. This year it was by Vehicle Wraps Incorporated and Local 522, so it's completely covered, but the impact has been amazing. So unless you guys have any questions for me, we just want to say cancer affects everybody. There's not a person in this room that hasn't been affected by cancer. And if this engine continues to bring a smile to the people's faces that we see and we can touch the lives of our community, it's worth everything we do. So unless anybody has any questions for me, we'd like to, there's one.
It's not actually a question. Michelle, what I'd like to share with you is last year I had the opportunity to be at Station 21 when we rolled this out on the deck. And my VIP that I brought actually lost her life a couple of weeks ago to breast cancer. She didn't live a year. And I can tell you, driving her home that day, she shared with me that that day was one of the brightest days that she had had, because she was the center of attention, and it was okay to have breast cancer, and it was okay to be suffering. And everybody there really lightened her day up. And I just want to thank everybody that was there. It was really touching for me to drive her home and to see the joy that it brings. So I'm going to challenge you. We're okay with an engine. I think we should go bigger. I think we should throw down for maybe a truck company or maybe even the helicopter. I'd love a pink helicopter for a few months. Right? Because I think what this is such a huge deal to us, is that we ought to take it even more seriously than we do, because this affects every family that we know. Every single one of us has a story. And I think Metro's taken the lead, and we ought to go bigger. So I'm happy for the engine, but I think this agency can do a lot bigger. And I think with the help that we have from 522 and vehicle wraps, maybe they need to branch out and have a whole division of helicopter wraps or truck company wraps.
I'll suggest that to them.
I'd like to see that happen. This is such an important thing. Thanks again for all your help.
Thank you for sharing that story. Any other questions? Other than that, if we don't mind, I would recommend that we take a quick recess, go downstairs, take some pictures. It is raining. We'll be very fast. Take a few pictures. Come right back up if you need with that director.
You want us to get wet?
Yes, sir.
We'll take a 5-minute recess.
I heard her say you were all red.
That looked like one.
And the news there would be. See, Scheidiger's got here. I got no.
You got this, Joe. I'll lay down and take it.
All right.
I'm a giver.
I don't want to know any more about what I'm hearing. All right, let's get back underway. Captain Adam, thank you for all you've done. Thank you for the presentation and the efforts in getting the photos in the rain. We'll move on now to presentation item number 2, the Single Role Paramedic Program, Assistant Chief Hine.
And good evening, directors, Chief Wells, Chief Deputy Harms, Assistant Chief Randall Hine, Director of EMS. This evening I'm going to present to you, at your request, the status of the Single Role Paramedic Program. We'll be looking at these items of the intent of the program, development and history, the components, recruitment and retention, community service, program cost, call volume, and the efficacy of the program itself. The intent of the program was to enhance the response model that we had at Metro Fire and have a community outreach to bring those from our local community into our agency. Also to identify a pathway for those individuals to become firefighter paramedics and reducing operational costs along the way. Metro Fire has the 3rd largest transport-based system in the state of California. Prior to March of 2013, Metro Fire's response model consisted of ALS engines, BLS trucks, and also ALS fire-based medics. In 2013, we added the Single Role Medic Program. At that time, we added 7 medics to our response model. A little bit of the program history is that the board approved in March 2012 the authorization of 40 paramedics and 18 EMTs, and also 3 EMS captains to supervise the program, and those EMS captains were selected in September of 2012 and began the development phase of the program. Some of the development components consisted of rules of engagement, deployment locations, academy curriculum, and the promotion process. This is a visual depiction of where the single role members fit into the command structure at Metro Fire. This type of shifts that they work are 12-hour shifts versus 24. They work 3 days on, 3 days off, and they have an A and a B shift, and this mirrors fire dispatch's schedule. You can see the 3 shift start times listed there, and also the station locations where they are deployed from. The components of the program, following the firefighter methodology for hiring practices, they attend an academy, they have a task book that they have to complete within 12 months, and then they have performance evaluations conducted every 6 months. The single role program and the members that you see pictured here for 13-1 are members of 522 and currently staff 9 single role paramedic ambulances that are strategically placed throughout the district, and they meet the demands of the fast-paced dynamic system that we have. On March 1st, the single role paramedic program did roll out and was launched with these 40 individuals made up of both paramedics and EMTs. 64% of these individuals pictured in here are still employed with Metro Fire. 26 are firefighter paramedics, and 2 are still within the single role program, and we have a few of those represented in the audience this evening. We've had 9 classes. Since 2013, we've graduated 181 individuals, and 24% of those have moved on to alternate career paths. Some of those choices have been to go to nursing school, to go to physician assistant school, or to move on to other fire agencies. The EMTs to paramedics, they have 3 years to transition. Then from paramedic to firefighter paramedic, they have 3 years to transition. So somebody coming in from the community actually has 6 years to transition to the position of firefighter paramedic. When they do promote from EMT to paramedic, these are the things that they have to complete. They have to get their paramedic training, the didactic, clinical. We provide their internship for them. They have to be in good standing, satisfactory performance evaluation, and then also for the licensing at the state and county level, make sure that they have those components completed. From paramedic to firefighter paramedic, they have to have no quality assurance issues. They have to pass an interview at 70%, and then they're accepted into the next available firefighter academy. Since 2013, we've seen that we've had 29 individuals promote from EMT to paramedic, 92 promote from paramedic to firefighter paramedic, and we have 87 of those 92, or 95%, that were successful in passing their 12-month probation, and are firefighter paramedics with us still today. Also, single role personnel function as field training officers. Metro Fire hosts 18 paramedic interns annually, and they've assisted greatly in this training program. Community involvement. They're involved in sidewalk CPR. One of the single role program is a manager of that program, and they have taught up to 2,500 individual CPR. The largest demonstration they did was at another Sacramento Kings event, where they demonstrated CPR for a crowd of 15,000. They are part of the Bike Medic team, and we see the events that they've shared in. They were able this past April at the Sunrise Mall to participate in the Cal OES event Dare to Prepare. Also, they staffed first aid stations and were strategically located at the venue of the U.S. Senior Open in 2015. So academy cost. If we look at the right column, per recruit cost is that using the 8-week model that we've used up to this point, we see the recruit cost there of just a little over $18,000 per recruit. In looking at a modified model that we are moving towards, you can see the reduction in that per recruit cost just a little over $7,000 per recruit. As far as the apparatus cost, the Sprinter ambulances are the vehicles that are utilized. The per unit cost were $101,000, which is typically $50,000 to $70,000 cheaper than the modular style ambulances. And then also for fuel economy, they operate on a 6-cylinder engine versus an 8. And then the maintenance interval is at 10,000 miles versus 5,000 for the modular style ambulance. So we don't have as much work put on our fleet division. 58 total positions have been authorized. Currently, we have 41 positions filled. Steps that we're doing to correct this diminished staffing. We have an ongoing hiring process that will be initiated. So instead of just having academies twice a year, we will have those multiple times a year. The academy is going to be streamlined in the sense that it will be a 2-week didactic with a 10-shift ride-along component. So a total of 1 month worth of training for those individuals before they move into the field. Currently, we have 9 paramedics and backgrounds. We're going to be promoting 2 EMTs to paramedics. And then this week, we just finished up interviewing EMTs, and many of those have already started the paramedic training process. And once they come on board and they complete that process, we'll be able to move them over to the paramedic side of the single role program. We also plan on initiating the next paramedic testing to establish a list for paramedics. Also, in concert with the recruitment, both the EMS division and Human Resources have tied in with Metro Fire's Recruitment and Retention Committee, and we're going to be reaching out to these facilities of the EMT and paramedic programs, community colleges, veteran transition programs, and then we're going to have a planned outreach to the local high schools as well. If we look at this call volume, these are ambulance dispatches from March 1st, 2013 to September 30th of this year. Grand total of just over 290,000. If we look at the total number that the single role members at 33% ran within the agency, just a little over 97,000 calls that they have responded to during the time frame this program has been in force. I want to take the time to thank my EMS staff, the fleet division, human resources, and finance that also helped me compile this data and made this presentation possible. So if we look at the efficacy of the program, the intent, all these items have been met. An enhanced response model, community outreach, our diversity percentage is at 25% in the program. We've identified and maintained a pathway to firefighter paramedic employment for people in Metro Fire, and also we have reduced operational cost. So at this point in time, that concludes my presentation with this one last statement. We notice this picture is the same that we saw at the outset for 13-1. Now, while there have been some lessons learned during this process, during the implementation and launch of this program, the adjustments will be made and continually monitored to identify areas where improvements need to be made. Since the inception of the single role paramedic program, fire stations that were slated for closure have remained open, and 3 previously closed fire engines have reopened. Fire Chief Mark Wells and the senior staff at Metro Fire continue to view the single role paramedic program as a viable and beneficial aspect of our emergency service delivery model. Thank you for your time. I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Chief Hine?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you for that, Chief. It was an excellent presentation. Would you go over, again, the cost of training an individual? What does it cost us to train one of these people?
Yes, with the modified academy that we'll be running, the cost was just a little over $7,000 per individual, because we're taking it from an 8-week model down to a 4-week model. And being able to streamline the component, the factor that the previous academy had was that we would need to pull individuals, training captains for the program offline. and then that would create callback behind them. So that was a reduced cost by going to the streamlined model. We'll be using day staff to be able to administer that program.
And in doing that, how will that impact the quality of the instruction these people are being given?
Thank you for the question. That is the model that we are moving to is the industry standard for other agencies that have just a single role component, whether EMT or paramedic. So that is in keeping with the industry standard.
So are there other agencies in the area that have this model?
Yes, as far as the training model, yes. With the private ambulance companies that are in the area, they utilize a similar onboarding system, program.
Thank you for that. I have one other question. I'd address it to the chief. This has been a fairly controversial program over time. Chief, could you give us your perspective about its viability, its success? Any thoughts about that?
You know, it is definitely a program that was innovative in the fire service to have a single role program. I would say that it's absolutely, as Chief Hine has indicated, has had some learning opportunities as we went along, and as we do in every program that we roll out in this agency, and anything that we've even had for 50 years, you can continue to look at it and streamline it and make sure that every efficiency and every opportunity are realized. So I would say moving forward in this program, of course I'm here for 10 more minutes, so I have the freedom to speak freely. I would say that the program absolutely is viable. It is a outstanding opportunity in ways to bring folks into this organization that otherwise would not exist in looking at strictly paramedic firefighters. I think there's opportunities to be able to adapt and make it more malleable to whatever dispatch and the needs of the community could be. You know, whether, and this is certainly another administration's opportunity, so I don't want to get too far into that, but it's absolutely a great program, and but it is one of multiple facets that make up our response system. Clearly, fire-based medics are important. We understand that they bring firefighters to the scene of fires, and so we want to maintain that. You have the opportunity to have surge protection with our partners in the AMR. You have this program within our internal system as for outreach and recruitment, for deployment models, for surge capacity, etc. So absolutely. I mean, if that answered your question, I know I rambled a little bit, but it's been a great program overall.
Thank you. It did answer my question. I appreciate that. One last question for either or both of you. When it gets to that point of an individual with a patient, are we confident that the level of service and ability that we expect to be delivered to that patient is being delivered by this model?
Well, we can probably both answer that. I'm going to do it at the 100-foot level. Absolutely. We have all sorts of opportunities to check, balance, and monitor this program in terms of monitoring the PCRs and all those other aspects in your CQI program. The training module, as it's been demonstrated tonight, to streamline it into a different model. You also have to also incorporate, you'll have smaller groups. Instead of having 30 or 40 people in a class, you would have a very smaller ratio and have more hands-on instruction and opportunities to interact with individual students more, in my opinion. And the constant great work that the EMS division does in the training and the sign-offs that they would go through to become qualified to practice in the field for Metro Fire, regardless if they had a cert from somewhere else, would still be at that very same high standard that we've always had.
Yeah. So I heard a reference to the station closures and then being reopened. Is there a correlation that says this, by virtue of this program helped facilitate those two things?
I would say that we do cost recovery, and you know, when you're recovering costs, and actually historically in all of our programs are engineered to be 80% cost recovery, like when it comes to fire inspections and those types of things and the community risk reduction. So to say that it's solely responsible for that, I would say that we've had a great opportunity to collect costs that we would normally be supplementing for EMS transport, potentially, and we've been able to use those in conjunction with some labor concessions that we've achieved over time, and also with the economy coming back a little bit and those things. Yes, we were able to open at least 2 engine companies in the last year, Engine 68 and Engine 106. So I think there's an absolute correlation, but whether or not we could say it's specifically the single role program, I would not be confident in saying that. But clearly it's been part of a comprehensive effort of this administration to meet the bottom line and provide more service.
I'm fine. Thank you, gentlemen.
Director Gould.
Thank you. Chief Hines, thank you very much for that presentation. It was outstanding. I think it's kind of telling when we ended with this particular picture. Because I think if we all look at this picture, it does not reflect our community. At the end of the day, this is not our community as a whole, and I think you're aware of it. I know you are. But one of our big challenges, and I know under your leadership we're going to get there, is this picture needs to change. Ladies and gentlemen, you know this. Our agency needs to reflect our community, and if that means we need to get into the high schools or into the middle schools to get those young people to have a vision that they can be in this agency, then that's what we need to do. Because this picture, you take the 2 old guys, one guy over there with a big mustache and glasses, and the other guy over on the other side with glasses, who are apparently the only 2 allowed to wear glasses. I think we need to do a better job, and I know that when this was a presentation in front of this group, one of the main focuses was that we were going to diversify our workforce. And this picture does not show that we're meeting that goal. So I hope under the new leadership of our chief and under your leadership, which I know is outstanding, we're going to get that goal, because we've got to reach into the communities that don't understand the fire service and appreciate it as a potential goal for them. Because when they get there, we change not only their lives, we change their families' lives, and now all of a sudden they have a vision if they can become a firefighter for Sac Metro. Right now, we may not be meeting those different groups of individuals, so we're foreign to them. And that doesn't help us build good patient care and connections in our community. So I know under your leadership we're going to get there, and I'm all in with you, Randy, to make that happen. Because we can change lives in cultures that don't even think the fire service is an option. Thanks very much. I look forward to working with you.
All right.
If I could just tie into that, but this program has had, although we have a tremendous amount of work to do, and it's a consolidated effort like the onion skin, multiple layers to get to that number. But I can tell you the statistics are there, 24 to 25% in this program with the 187 individuals or so that we brought in. We're doing good things in this program in the right direction. And so I would say yes, and those are, like this program alone, you need to constantly monitor and adjust to get to that goal. But this has been very effective.
Thank you. Director Mitchell.
The single role program in uniqueness throughout the country, if you will. Where are we? It's very unique in a department like ours. It is, say, just standard operating procedure. And the reason I ask this, if it is a very unique system program, it would seem to me we have the opportunity to become known nationwide for what we're doing, and to have grant money from somewhere that I don't know, but grant money, when we have such a unique program, this can be one of the steps to help us become nationally known and have funding come our way to subsidize what we are spending from our budget. And if I might, and we're going to see a new administration, and we've hired a new chief, and that new chief comes from a department that is nationally known for many things. And I think under his tutorship and leadership, he will bring that energy, if you will, or that knowledge on how to become nationally known and how to get those fundings for those things. So I guess my question after that long oration would be, how unique is this program to other departments like us nationwide?
Well, when we look at the model, it is very unique in the sense that it does give the community the opportunity to come in at an entry-level EMT basic level and then have the end result become a firefighter paramedic. There are different variations of this program, but within California, we are, to my knowledge, one of the few that are using this model to the success that we've used as far as bringing individuals in to the rank of firefighter paramedic.
So would I be right in assuming then that this great program gives this department a chance to become better known throughout the country and maybe receive some funds through grant funding that I don't know about, that you certainly would, or the new administration would, or Chief Wells would even know about? So
it would definitely lend itself to that, and I've had communications with our grant division on pursuing any opportunities that might be available to us.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you, Director. Any other comments? Thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate that presentation.
Thank you very much,
Chief.
Move on to action items next. Communications Manager Scott Andrews, you've got action items 1 and 2.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, Chief Wells, Chief Deputy Harms. So as you know, we've been speaking quite a while about the CAD upgrade project coming next year. There's a lot of moving parts to that. One of those is our mobile data computers, which we refer to as our MDCs. As part of this upgrade of the CAD system, we must upgrade our mobile data computers. These mobile data computers are 12 plus years old. I don't think anybody in the room has a computer 12 years old that you're still using, so we're working forward on that. We need 123 of those to finish the migration throughout the district. Over the last 24 months, we've been purchasing them as we can with new equipment, but we're lacking 123 units. We've been able to utilize the Houston Galveston Area Council HGAC contract, which I know the board's very familiar with. The district's taken advantage of this many times, to buy these devices at a reduced rate. We were able to negotiate an additional $166,000 discount beyond the HGAC pricing, so I'm very excited about that. We're moving to a different vendor. We've been using one vendor for years. There's another vendor in the market. They've been in the market a very long time. They have a newer form factor that's better suited for what we're doing. It's going to reduce our ongoing costs. The vendor's L3 Mobile Vision. And moving to these folks, we're looking to save an additional $500,000 from what we had initially budgeted this fiscal year based on our previous vendor that we'd been using. So we're very excited about that. We've had a couple of those in service for 4 or 5 months to verify that they're operationally sound, and it's going to be a good investment technologically, or technology-wise, for the district, and they've worked out very well. It's the same unit the Consumnes Fire is already settled on, and they're moving forward with, so I think they're proven. Total cost of this purchase is just over $500,000. And this will be part of the multi-year lease that the finance division is working on. I've spoken with Amanda, our CFO, and she's on board with this. And those are the high points. I know you have some information in your packet. If there's any additional questions or anything, I'd be happy to answer those.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Andrews?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we adopt.
Got a second?
Second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. Can we get the vote, please?
Director Mitchell.
Resounding aye.
Gould.
An aye.
Orzali.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Barnes.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
And Scheidegger.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Mr. Andrews, you're up for number 2.
All right, thank you. So again, as part of the same CAD upgrade, we're working on upgrading our fire station alerting throughout our district. Again, we've had good success with using equipment we've had a while, but the newest equipment we have is 12 years old. Many of the stations have equipment that's in excess of 20 years old. As you know, Sac Metro was a combined many other districts, and a lot of other districts came with their existing equipment. Through the years, we've been able to continue to utilize that equipment and make it work, if you will. However, we're now kind of at a juncture where we need to move forward. We need to standardize on a single platform to support the entire district, all 41 stations. And as we move forward with the new CAD system, this is a great opportunity to take advantage of many technology advances to provide better service to the community and support our district and our firefighters. Just hitting a few high points, it's going to have moving forward with this project, we'll have the same user experience for a firefighter no matter which station they're at. That's not the way it is today, so that'll be a lot nicer for the staff. We're going to have greater redundancy, more reliability, more layers of backup if there happen to be any failures. Again, we're utilizing the HGAC contract. Unlike the mobile data computers, we're going a little bit more than what we initially had anticipated on this purchase. We originally had $2 million set aside in our preliminary. As we actually walked the stations, our final numbers came in around 2.6, so we're a little bit over. Thankfully, we're saving the $500,000 on the MDCs, so they kind of offset one another. I've been working with finance on that. We do not believe any additional budget is needed. We're just kind of redirecting the funds we already have allocated. These costs do include installation and labor, full support from the manufacturer. Again, this will be a multi-year lease, and Amanda Thomas has been engaged as our CFO. And again, entertain any questions if you guys have any.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Andrews? Mr. Director Gold.
Thank you very much for that information. The question I guess I have is, at what stage do the operational folks, the line staff, get involved in seeing the various options of these alerting systems and weighing in? I know we put whole committees together to draw up plans for fire engines and those kind of things, and peak helicopters and all that. Do they engage themselves, or do you invite them in when we make decisions that are at this magnitude?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking. We have involved several chief officers as well down to the captain level. We've had several demonstrations from various fire station alerting vendors. Westnet ultimately being this vendor, they brought a demonstration vehicle out and we had several crews come through and weigh in. And then we ultimately presented that information to Deputy Chief Bridge, and I know it went through command staff. So
excellent.
So that's the level.
That's good to hear. Because when we're this kind of money, and it impacts those firehouses, I want to ensure that the men and women that are going to be affected by that have an opportunity to weigh in and kind of get their opinion in there so that it impacts the decision. Thank you very much for that information.
Any other questions for Mr. Andrews? Director Kelly.
Can you tell me where Westnet is domiciled?
Huntington Beach, Southern California.
Okay. My concern, if people come and do all of the work, there could be a thing called prevailing wages that are required to be paid. I just wanted you to be aware of that. Somebody may come along and ask for certified payrolls at some time, and to protect Westnet as well as Metro Fire, it should be discussed.
Absolutely, and that's a good point. In fact, this is a prevailing wage job, and we worked with Mark Jones on procurement, and our labor quotes do reflect prevailing wage.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we adopt this action item as well.
Second.
All right, we got a first and a second. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Dr. Mitchell.
Aye.
Gould.
Aye.
Orzali.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Barnes.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
And Scheidegger.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We are going to table action item number 3 till after closed session, and we'll move on to reports. And at this point, I'm happy to turn the meeting over to our illustrious President Scheidegger.
Well, thank you, Director Wood. I apologize to everyone for being late. The airlines were on time for a change, but it took me an hour and a half to get from the airport to here, so my apologies. In the President's report, I just want to take a minute to introduce someone who is going to become increasingly vital to us. It's a pleasure for me to introduce Chief Todd Harms. He's going to be a vital part of the Metro family. He's got great credentials. He's joining a wonderful family. We're pleased to have him, and we know that he'll be a great part of our history. Chief, I know you already led us to the Pledge of Allegiance, but at least wave your hand just to make sure everybody knows you're here, and we're glad you're here. Thank you. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you.
Chief Wells.
Well, good evening, directors. So we've done a couple of command staff videos in the last couple of weeks. I know AC Randy Hine did one from EMS on the 19th, and myself and Chief Harms, we had just a very brief welcome that went out. Hopefully all the directors had an opportunity to see that. We've had a lot of meetings. Transition is going extremely well. I can tell you that has exceeded any expectations that I had, and we had the opportunity, based just on timing, to have the California Fire Chiefs Convention here in town in Sacramento, literally this week, which is the second week after Chief Harms got here. So we were able to introduce him to many of the different influential individuals in the state as in terms of fire, the Fire Chiefs Association, a lot of vendors, and a lot of our state and federal partners that come to that. Also, the Cal Chiefs, Metro Chiefs meeting was on Tuesday night. There was a dinner and then a 6-hour meeting yesterday, which is the largest fire departments in the state of California. There's actually 18, us being the 7th largest. And so we had a great opportunity at a very small level to talk to all those chiefs and have a great discussion and to introduce them to Chief Harms as well. So that's going very well, and I would like to thank also publicly our assistant, Jill Guzman. She's been working extremely hard trying to manage both of us and try to get us to where we need to go, and so special thanks to her as well. I'd like you to save the date on the 12th of November. It's the annual Dean Baker crab feed that is presented by the association. It is at 6 p.m. at St. John Vianney Parish Church in Rancho Cordova, and the proceeds will be going to the Metro Fire's Widows and Orphans Fund. And this will be my last opportunity just to shout out Dean Baker was a fantastic human being. I got the opportunity to work a lot with him. A lot of the young folks that are in our fire department that never got the opportunity, ask one of the old guys about him. He was a guy that you wanted to be, I guarantee it. So honor him and attend that event. Retirement, I'd like to congratulate Captain Mike Hazlett, 27 years of service. He retired on the 21st of October. And of course, that movement from the top with all the senior folks means promotions, and we have on the 1st of November, Captain James Pritchard will be promoted. We have a new hire, effective the 18th, was our fleet parts buyer, Matthew Freeman. So it's a good opportunity to shore up some of the needs out there in the fleet division. Welcome to Matthew. We have a recruitment out. Actually, we've had a reassignment that'll happen on the 11th of November. We'll have EMS Day Captain Jonathan Davis will be coming in, as Captain John Rudnicki will be going back out into the line after his tour on days. And I know Captain Davis is here somewhere. If you could raise your hand. There you are. Welcome, sir. Thank you for coming in. And he's been helping with our Single Role Academy as well in the past. Also, we have out for recruitment our Firefighters Academy 17-1. We're going to be looking for drill instructors. Letters of interest from firefighters, engineers, and captains are out right now with a final filing date of, actually I guess it was on the 10th of October, and those were due. And so the academy will be starting January 23rd of 2017. It's a 20-week academy. They don't graduate until the 9th of June. So January 23rd to June 9th. So for our miscellaneous, I'd like to say on Monday, the 7th of November at 9 a.m., we're going to be over at the Logistics Division, and it is going to be to roll out our Lucas devices that we've been able to purchase. It's going to be a media event. We're literally going to be lining up our units. We're going to have one on every transporting ambulance, and to include our helicopter, and I'm not expecting the helicopter to come through the assembly line there. However, it's going to be a great opportunity. If you guys will remember, we have 3 currently, and then we ended up purchasing a bunch on a grant. They're about $15,000 a piece. I mean, they're very expensive, and we were able to get a grant. Like, we've had a lot of grants to offset some of our operating expenses. We're looking forward outstanding benefits from that, and more to come on that on the, let's see, the 7th of November at 9 o'clock at Gold Canal at our Logistics Division. So please, Board of Directors, if you can attend, that would be great. And that would conclude my report, except we'll be transitioning again with Chief Harms, and our next board meeting will be our official swearing-in ceremony, so we're looking forward to that. And if I can entertain any questions, let me know.
Board members, question. Chief Wells is always a great report. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chief Bridge.
Good evening, President Shager, Directors, Deputy Chief Harms, Chief Wells, Eric Bridge, Deputy Chief Operations. It's been 2 weeks since we last spoke about some numbers, so my pleasure to present to you some similar numbers on a 2-week average. Since then, we've run total calls has been 3,655 calls, of which we have had a total of 2,712 dispatches being EMS related. And we maintain a consistent 72 transport rate of that. So as I see all of our folks in the back, thanks for being here and the hard work that you guys do. So I do appreciate it. Our partners at AMR had 185 dispatches with 126 transports. And year to date, so 10 months into this, We have a transport rate, ALS transport rate of about 53% and a BLS transport rate of 47%. Also, we've had 8 structure fires in the last 2 weeks as well. And with that concluding my numbers, special thanks to the crew at Engine 101 for bringing the pink engine over to share with all of us. So and that was Captain Joel Roberts and his crew. So that's all I have for you tonight, unless you have any questions or comments.
Questions?
Chief, today we learned that we had a fire in the community and one of our employees was injured.
Yes, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Good news, it was a first-degree minor type of burn injury to the ear and treat and release, and home and resting, and will be returning without any consequences.
Good, thanks for that update.
You're very welcome. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Chief Bridge.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Council Albrecht.
Yes, I'd just like to welcome Chief Harms to the district here. He and I had many telephone calls and email communications a few months back, and it was finally nice to meet him in person tonight, and I look forward to working with him and his staff moving forward, and just wanted to say welcome, Chief Harms.
Very good. Thank you. Local 522. Okay. Committee and delegate reports. The Executive Committee has not met. Communication Center. Chief Bridge.
Yeah, GP Comp Center, we have not met since our last board meeting, and our next special meeting date will be November the 14th.
All right. Thank you. California Fire and Rescue Training, JPA, Director Kelly.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as I reported last meeting, the JPA has not met since I last reported out, and we will meet again on the 15th of December here at the Exercise Simulation Center.
Thank you, Director. The Finance and Audit Committee, Director Wood.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The Finance and Audit Committee met this afternoon. We had a presentation by Controller Ron Emperdad, and he went over the first 2 months for this fiscal year. Our cash balance is slightly below where it was the prior year, but the good news for that is that that's due to prepayment of some CalPERS liabilities, which is going to save us about $900,000 in our pension costs this year.
Good.
We are projected to end the year, based on these first 2 months' results, with about 11.5% reserve. And our CERP fund is doing very well. The last 2 months of the last fiscal year, the returns were $600,000. Our current balance is $21.3 million in that, which is about 9% of our total unfunded liability, which is just over $200 million. So we're working well towards getting that promise that we made to our members, our employees, funded. And our next meeting is not scheduled currently.
Thank you for that report. Good information. Policy Committee, Director Gould.
The Policy Committee continues to stand ready and willing for any policy, no matter where it comes from, to talk about it and approve it.
Is that our
That means
policy?
there was no meeting.
I don't even care where it comes from. Huh?
Is that our policy?
That's our policy to wait.
All right, let's go to board member questions and comments. Director Kelly.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to welcome Chief Harms. Welcome to the family, as it was said earlier. And I'll tell you what, I can't tell you how much I appreciate the work you've done, Chief Wells, the direction you've taken this organization. And like many fine chiefs before you, you have continued a long tradition and set an example of fine leadership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Director Rosali.
Mark, I'd just like to follow on. It has been an absolute honor to work with you. You've done a fantastic job.
Thank you.
One other thing I'd like to bring up, I was contracted earlier this week by a Mrs. Jody Morrison, who had an event where their family was on the way home. Mrs. Morrison's mother began to feel ill. They stopped at Station 21 to see if they could render some aid, which they did, and in the course of taking the medical vitals and so forth, the other firefighters there did something that's not at all surprising, but should be better known. They diverted the children that were with them in the family in the car, took them on a tour of the station while the medics were working on this woman. And then, since this was taking some time, they ordered some pizza and had pizza delivered. They provided lunch for the family, and then they took care, had the mother was then transported. And so Mrs. Morrison contacted me just to express how grateful she was for this. And so that, as I say, is not an unusual kind of reaction from Metro Fire staff to perform. It is something that is not well enough known. On the website for Citrus Heights Crime Report, they reported this incident, and I would encourage you to go there and find the incident because of the long string of comments that came back from other people in the community. There must be, and I'm guessing 20, 25 comments there. Every single one of them is complimentary to the service they received from Metro Fire. It was a very gratifying thing to be able to play a small role. I contacted the board clerk who provided me the information. I relayed it to Mrs. Morrison, and they are making a special trip to go back and meet with the firefighters who were involved and thank them personally. And so I'd like to follow that on by issuing my thanks to Captain Butler, to Engineer Anderson, and Firefighter Van Brunt, who were directly involved in this. Fantastic job, guys, and it is an honor to sit on this board. With that, thank you.
Thank you, Director Rosali, for sharing that community service.
To interrupt here, Captain Butler's right in the back. Could you raise your
That's what I thought.
hand there? Yeah.
Back there.
Outstanding work.
Yeah.
You know what? I got to be honest with you. That is a story that, if this might be my last real board meeting, that's what we stand for. Nice job. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And thanks for sharing that story again, Director
Absolutely.
Rosali. Director Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief, thank you very much for your leadership. I'd like you to also share our thanks with your family. To be a fire chief at this agency requires an incredible amount of sacrifice, I think, from your family, I know. And so thanks goes to them as well as you term out, so to speak, in that regard. But I want to thank you for your leadership. This has not been an easy time in our organization, and you've handled it marvelously. Chief Harms, welcome. You got some really large shoes, which I know you already know in the few days you've been here with Chief Wells. Thank you very much. Also, I just want to say thank you to all the men and women who represent the numbers that we hear from our operations chief. I mean, those are just numbers, but in reality, there are events like we just heard that go way beyond just picking somebody up and driving them to the hospital. It's so much deeper and richer than that I hope our community really understands. They have the premier fire service in this entire state, in my mind, right here in Sacramento. And so I hope that the citizens recognize that. The reports that we heard tonight, those are second to none. The detail, the quality, their willingness to answer questions from us on the fly just shows the outstanding leadership, Mark, that you've provided, and the ability you've given them to lead their individual organizations really reflects itself. And then finally, as we move in, it's interesting that the rain started, but as we move into the fall season here, I just encourage all of us to remember just how lucky we have it. Most of us are probably going to go home tonight and be out of the rain. And we're going to have a roof over our head and a warm bed to crawl into. There's a lot of people that are going to go into this holiday season without any of that. And I know Metro Fire in the past has really reached out to that community and really made an impact. I hope that all of us do that on a constant basis, that we look beyond ourselves as Metro Fire representatives and look for those that are far less fortunate than us. It's still here, and it's really, really intense. And I hope that we continue to do this. Every moment think, what can I do to make that person's life better? And it will subsequently make our lives better. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Gould. Director Mitchell.
Thank you, Board Chair. Chief Wells, I'm the newest member that's sitting on this board, but I have the pleasure of probably knowing you longer than most of the people that sit at this dais. You've led this department in what I would say were probably some real tough times, and you've done a stellar job of that. We will miss you very, very much.
Thank you.
Chief Harms, first of all, let me thank you for our meeting the other day and the pleasant lunch. I hope we have many more pleasant meetings like that. Along with what Director Gould said, you have some big shoes to fill, but I would share with you, because of knowing the process we've went through, you have been a great part of making the Phoenix Fire Department what it is today. And so I'm sure when you put those large shoes on of Chief Wells, that shoe size under your tutorship will continue to grow. And I think I could speak for this entire board that anytime you need help from this board, if it's just to say, hey, let's go have a soda or a cup of coffee, I'm sure all of them will be willing to do so and to help you in any way we can. So I welcome you. It's a pleasure to have you on board. Men and women of Sac Metro Fire. You know, I can remember times sitting in a boardroom many years ago from one of our predecessor districts, certainly have a different color uniform on. I think there were blue shirts and black trousers at the time. But you, in fact, are the greatest asset that this district has. And not just the men and women that are sworn, but everyone that works for this district. So as we go into this fall season, be careful. We don't want to have anybody injured or lose anyone in these horrific accidents that you respond to help people. So again, the men and women of this department are our greatest assets, and I applaud you. Last but not least, I go back to Chief Wells. It's been a pleasure for the last year to work with you as a director, and it's been a pleasure to be your friend. And I hope that friendship continues throughout your retirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Director Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To echo all the comments, Chief Wells, although I have a little different side to me, I'm hoping you get to work on your golf game. Because I have played.
You've seen it, yes.
If you want to call it that, yeah.
You call it that. Wow. Now it starts.
You guys are being all serious.
Right.
Like we're never going to see them again.
That's true.
No, but really, when we get into this profession, as we move on, we wonder what our legacy is going to be. Did we move that ball further down the field for Chief Harms to come in and take it with his experience from a big agency, the hardworking efforts always by the men and women of this agency, both uniform and professional staff. I call them professional staff because that's what you are, that keep this organization going. But as a whole, you've learned in a short amount of time, Chief Harms, this is truly a family. I got inducted to this family 2 years ago. I come from a different side where we kind of rib each other a little bit, but I always call this a first-class organization, and I truly do. I'm impressed every board meeting that what happens, the numbers, the sheer volume that your agency responds to, and this agency and the professionals in which it does it is admirable. So I look forward to continuing a relationship in your retirement and hopefully taking you golf and giving you some lessons. But in all honesty, the legacy that you have left behind you is, there's no doubt the leadership. I remember a specific time you're down in Southern California and things were not going so well up here. You left a conference in the middle of the conference to fly up here and deal with something. And that is a true form of leadership, of being there when it counts, when it's tough times, and it's easier to stay away and let some people handle it and do it by phone. Top notch. So I appreciate your efforts and everything you've done, and being a part of it's made me feel good. So thank you. Just echoing all the comments, the one thing that we got to go to, or I got to go to, and I know a couple other board members also, is the Firefighter Memorial this year, October 15th. I've been to lots of memorials on the law enforcement side, and the bagpipes, every time they start up, I lose it, so I tend to stand in the back until that's all over with. But 29 were inducted, and when you think about it, and I don't have the brochure in front of me and the manual to commemorate each one of them, but I could have swore, if not all of them, 29 of them, it was an internal illness that caused their death. And what that tells the people, and the reason why I'm saying this is, this organization and what you do for a living is caustic. You go into fires with unknown metals, unknown substances that are on fire. Yes, our technology has gotten better, but I will tell you, over the years, people that didn't have that technology are reaping that now. Again, I finished with this. We get hit in the media every year regarding salaries and pensions and what it costs to run an organization like this. And I challenge those people who are naysayers that read those articles to go to the Firefighter Memorial.
read those articles and why it happens. It's not always fighting fires, it's not always accidents, it's internal illnesses. So again, I applaud all of you. You're all heroes to me, even the professional staff here, to keep this organization going, to be innovative, to get the apparatuses. So thank you for all that, Chief Wells. Good stuff. I really appreciate it. So, good.
Thank you, Director Barnes. Director Wood.
Thank you, Director Shattergood. It's really got to watch my language. It's really frustrating to be at the end after all the more eloquent people speaking before me. So, Chief, I just want to say thank you so much for all you've done over the last couple of years. It's been a pleasure and honor working with you, and I'm grateful for all the leadership and the times we've had as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
One other comment, what's becoming unfortunately all too common is, Mr. President, I just asked that we would close this meeting with a moment for Modoc County Sheriff Jack Hopkins, who lost his life last week in the line of duty.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I want to say a couple of things. Again, I apologize for being late, but I am happy to hear about the Finance Committee report and the good news with the reserve and also meeting our obligations in terms of the long-term viability of retirement and benefits to our staff. I think that's critical. That's a real success for us. Chief Wells, we're going to talk about you more later, and you know the comments that have been reflected here. I mean that you have a face for radio, that you have big feet. I don't want to get into that kind of stuff, but yeah, you certainly led us through some of the toughest times, Mark, and I don't know that many people would have been as well suited as you to take us through that. Thank you so much, but also in thanking you for your time as chief. I think it's important the public recognize and understand your many, many years of service to this community and every level of public safety to this community. And to that, just on a short note, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All the best to you. All right, that concludes that part. We're going to adjourn to closed session. I would invite you all to go take part in family activities, etc. But before we do, as Director Wood suggested, I'd like to close the moment of silence for our fallen peace officer. Thank you very much. Stand adjourned. Not adjourned, closed session.
Jack, now that you're here, you got all this stuff to sign.
All right, I'll get on it.